If there's one thing that springs to mind when talking about the animation of the macho vampire hunter clan, it's that the game feel is kind of built around the anticipation of the whipping action that most Belmonts perform. I'm not sure about you, but I quite often think back to that one episode of Egoraptor's Sequelitis, and how he goes into detail about this particular quirk of the first game, and how it defines the way in which you play. Pressing your action button first sets you back into an anticipating pose, and only then does your character unleash a crack of fury into oncoming demons. You had to time your attacks just right so that you didn't waste your time missing your target and stressing you out. And this kind of carried on throughout, I don't know, a couple of games. So what's this got to do with anything? Well, we'll get to that, just hold on. Once Sonic the Hedgehog made his debut in the Super Smash Bros. Brawl as the first proper third-party character not owned by Nintendo or whatever, this opened the gates for other third-party characters to be portrayed in future Smash games. Zoom forward to 2018, and Simon and Richter Belmont appear as third-party characters in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Now, I found this interesting mostly because I was fascinated by how Nintendo would translate the clunky-looking macho march from Konami into a cohesive and convincing 3D movement. But also because we get to see how well that anticipation from the whipping action is integrated into fighting game animations. So let's take a little look at how some of those classic 2D Castlevania animations were converted into 3D fighting game movement. So the first thing I want to look at is this hench beefcake walk that seems to be a genetic trait amongst the Belmont clan. In the first 3 NES games, it's nearly identical, with this odd frame where the rear shoulder snaps back like way further than it probably should do. But he's got the arms that roll back and forward like he's flexing. An interesting note is that the passing motion doesn't show any feet off the ground, and yet we still get the impression that he's kind of stomping. Ah, the beauty of animation, fooling the eye to see things that might not be there. Even in future entries with more frames of animation, these passing frames are still only very slight. So, how did Nintendo manage this in 3D? Well, they go full on He-Man with it, bringing over these flexing arm poses, rolling back and forward, his shoulders almost impossibly rocking from front to back. Maybe that's where that funny odd looking frame comes into play. This walking animation is just fantastic. It's captured the essence of those classic games. It's like you've told your dad someone's bullying you and he's rolling up his sleeves and is going to talk to their dad. What I love is that they've even managed to replicate this energy into the slowed walk too, and even while crouching. All from these 3 looping frames, they've managed to expand into a fully cohesive action. I mean, that's something Nintendo have done really well with most Smash characters, to be fair. Okay, so jumping in those classic games was just kind of, whoop, you're up, and weirdly bringing your knees up to your chest. No real anticipation for jumping back in those days, as that would have disrupted the feel of the game. You don't want any unnecessary frames which would ruin player feedback, though we'll get to that. The exaggeration of the knees up to the chest just kinda helps distance a Belmont from the ground even more, making it seem like he's jumping higher than he actually probably is. In Smash, they've kind of combined it with later entries, treating it in a more traditional way, leaping up after a real short anticipation frame, and then bringing the knees up, and then lining up the return for a smooth landing. Kinda like from Symphony of the Night and that. So here's the good stuff. Back in the olden days, when a Belmont cracked his whip, there was a frame of pullback before unleashing the attack. This means you had to really think before you attacked so that you would land it at the right time. When I said earlier that you don't want unnecessary frames, it depends on how you want your game to feel. This old NES Batman game has you crouch before jumping, something which was really uncommon for back then, but it gave you the opportunity to decide how you wanted to jump in that short window when the button was pressed. I mean, you don't get a choice in Castlevania in that short window, it's more of a mechanic to help drive a feeling of horror. Not that this action is meant to scare you, but without getting into the psychology of it all, making your attacks slower like this makes you feel more vulnerable, which is a really potent feeling in a game with a horror theme. So the action itself has Simon's lower half static while his upper half performs the lean back and the lean forward with the whipping action. Simple stuff, but this upper body motion is reused for other weapons as well, such as knives, axes, crosses and holy water. Hey, that's some good elegance. Elegance in game animation can be an elegant solution to a problem such as using one animation for a variety of moves to save on resource. This is often the case with a lot of games, either reusing that same action or something similar. In Smash, your standard whipping action uses those same poses from the classic animations, though depending on the strength of the attack, the longer the anticipation will be. However, because this is now the modern day and not nearly 30 years ago, resources are much more plentiful, meaning we have nice, specific actions for nice, specific moves. That's some good context. Context in game animation means one has to consider where an action will be used in the larger spectrum of a character's movements. So, the whipping action, the axe throw, the water toss, and the cross hurl, while all having roughly the same timing, have separate poses, because a cross and an axe are thrown differently, as we all know. But what's nice is that we still have that original anticipation animation as an influence for these new sets of actions, and obviously newer entries from which to draw additional influence, such as this crazy exaggerated action for throwing a cross. Like, how do you end up from this pose to this pose? From being a macho Belmont, of course. And this is the beauty in converting those limited 2D 8-bit actions into gloriously fully rendered 3D movements, particularly by Nintendo in Smash games. You get to look at those poses, what they're achieving, and the context in which they're used, and reapply that same energy and understanding using much more sophisticated software and techniques. I mean, all we need is to see a Belmont's muscles and how much they build up a throw, and we know they're using lots of energy to hurl an axe halfway across the screen. So interpreting this into a massively over-masculine action just feels correct. Nintendo somehow managed to nail, most of the time, the feel of how a character moves from their respective game series. And when you're into it, Simon and Richter totally feel like how they would move in those classic games. Good work, Nintendo. Good Tendo. Let me know if you want to see more of these 2D to 3D comparisons, because obviously I want to look at Sonic and Mega Man. Thanks to these wonderful humans for funding this video via Patreon for like a little over $1 or more each. Amazing! Have a great festive holiday if you can, what with all the lockdowns and such. That's if I don't release another video before Christmas, which I probably won't, because I'm like really busy being a freelance animator, animation lecturer, a dad and husband man. Yeah, you're right, no, I don't like a relaxing life. Love you, bye! Yeah, nah, no one ever watches this far. Well, it doesn't do anything. I mean, YouTube's algorithms tend to favour watch time over view count. So the longer a video is watched for, the longer a viewer is on the site, and the more likely they are to watch another video, view an ad, and hey, maybe click on that ad and buy something, all the while making YouTube money. Yeah, it's all about money in the end. Everything is. I thought about having a little joke at the end of my videos for a while, keeping regular viewers and subscribers something to come back to each time, bump up the watch time and have YouTube promote my videos more, giving me more money and time to make more videos about game animation. But then I just didn't. Yeah, no, I don't get much time to make videos anymore. Gotta pay the bills, don't I? I don't really get much from this, not nearly enough to live off. So once you stop riding that wave, YouTube stops promoting your videos, enthusiasm to produce videos lessens, and so the cycle goes until you go from making videos that will break up anywhere from 100,000 to 200,000 views to pitiful amounts like 10,000. For a channel with a silver play button, that's pretty bad. But it's all entertainment at the end of the day, innit? You might learn something, but it's all relative. I'm not saving lives or anything. Well, luckily I still make these videos because some people do still watch them anyway, and I do enjoy teaching and talking passionately about my chosen craft. Ah, is this still on?